Harry Test here again, back to talk about Star Wars Visions. Tuesday at 10:12 p.m. from D, I get, fam, Star Wars Visions, have you watched yet? I said, damn, is that out already? He said, bruh, I need the Harry Test review. I said, okay, you got it. So here we are. Once I realized that it had come out already, for one, felt like a piece of shit. Two, felt like I'm not qualified to be making a channel about this kind of stuff if I can't keep up on something like Star Wars Visions. Being out of the loop there is a little bit demoralizing, so I stayed up till 4 a.m. that night. I cranked it out, and then I was just excited. I was like, I gotta do this. Just so many little things that I picked up on, and it's just endless. Like, I was so impressed by Star Wars Visions. The cool thing about Star Wars Visions is that each individual episode is created entirely by a separate animation studio, and all of these animation studios are renowned, incredible, praised, the best of the best. So each episode is an entirely separate concept, a different story, different characters. You'll see, some familiar faces, but more often than not, you're going to see things that you've never seen before in Star Wars. Each individual story is its own little world, and I thought that this aspect was incredibly refreshing. And I think it's only fair that we give credit where credit is due. Without the mouse, we'd have none of this.
You think God is in control here? I am in control.
There'd be no Mandalorian. There'd be no Star Wars Rebels. I haven't seen The Bad Batch, but we wouldn't have that either. And we wouldn't have those fantastic new movies featuring Rey Palpatine. But we've come to a point where I finally got something that I wanted. When this was announced, I really felt like they were thinking about me when they made this. And when I got to thinking about just Star Wars chronologically, what type of things would be allowed in the Star Wars timeline, inside or outside, creative freedom wise, LucasArts and Lucasfilms has always been very, very tight on what they allow people to do when it comes to the Star Wars franchise. But for some reason, and I haven't really looked into what happened, but the mouse decided to bless us in a huge way. I thought for sure nothing like this would ever happen in my entire life. Underneath it all, there is, I think, one identifiable moment in Star Wars that triggered the watershed that is this Renaissance, golden age of Star Wars. It's Jar Jar Binks. Jar Jar Binks. Jar Jar Binks.
He's doing nothing.
I definitely plan to do a video on why I believe that we really have Jar Jar Binks to thank for all of these wonderful things. Star Wars Visions, especially, we would not have without Jar Jar Binks. For this video, my goal is to give you a little bit of background information on this really cool connection that Japanese culture and Star Wars has had since day one. I'd also like to go a little bit more in depth on the first 2 episodes. I plan on doing the rest. And if you like what I'm putting down here, make sure you come back to watch your favorite episode when I give my take on it. So let's get into it. So this Japanese and Star Wars connection goes back farther than you and I could imagine. It all starts with an incredible filmmaker, director, producer, Akira Kurosawa. Akira Kurosawa was a Japanese filmmaker who, from 1936, starting in 1936, he directed 30 films in 57 years. He was incredible at what he did and is renowned even today as one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. One of the really cool things about Akira Kurosawa is that he was very influenced by American Westerns. So you'll see some very similar filming styles. If you look at 2 of his most famous films, Seven Samurai and The Hidden Fortress, you could definitely see some parallels between American Westerns and what is known as Jedi Geki. Jedi, 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 Jedi Geki. So that is essentially like a period drama. George Lucas, creator of Star Wars. So when he was creating Star Wars, he found inspiration from lots of different places. But one of the key places that I'd say he found the most amount of inspiration for Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, was Akira Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress. The Hidden Fortress and Star Wars A New Hope. Frame by frame, it's pretty much the same exact movie. But more than anything, the one thing that it did that was the most similar to The Hidden Fortress was the way that its story was told. The Hidden Fortress is told through the perspective of two peasants who have very little to do with the main story of the movie. Much like all of the Star Wars movies, where essentially the story is being told or shown through the eyes of two very lovable droids, R2-D2 and C-3PO. So right here you have a very clear correlation between these two movies, besides the fact that all of the frames are the same. I'll definitely throw some links in the bio down below if you're interested in learning a little bit more about this correlation between Japanese culture and Star Wars. Maybe one day I'll make a video about that by itself. Before we get into the first two episodes, I just want to say this. When I first heard about Star Wars Visions, I definitely thought that it was going to be something that I was going to enjoy. Never did I think when I heard about Star Wars Visions that when it came out, I would have a YouTube channel where I could blab about it for as long as I want. So when my boy D texted me and said that he wanted to hear like my take on Star Wars Visions, I had kind of like a manifest destiny moment where it was just, you know, they made it for me. Let me elaborate. For the longest time in my life, when somebody would say that, you know, they were looking at a piece of art and they said, this speaks to me, I always thought that was stupid, because like it's not saying anything to you, it's a painting, you idiot. I mean, obviously, like, I know what they meant, but I think you get what I'm putting down here. But there was something about Star Wars Visions that just hit extremely hard for me. Being an anime fan for a long time, it's giving me a certain level of familiarity with these anime studios that produced each one of these individual shorts. All of the studios are rock stars. Honestly, I would say that Mickey has great taste in anime. So take the idea that I'm presenting here, where I'm telling you that these studios are legit, take it out of the equation. The people in these studios are Star Wars fans. Maybe not all of them, but a majority of them, if not all of them, were at the helm when they were deciding what they were going to do with their very special Star Wars project. All while knowing that this is the first time that anything like this has ever been allowed. Knowing the amount of pressure and also the excitement that must have came with the opportunity to create your own, as a Star Wars fan, to create your own Star Wars adventure to show the world that highlights your love and endearment for the franchise. But you haven't been greenlit for 6 seasons. You don't get a movie release in the summer. All you get is 15, maybe 20 minutes to tell your Star Wars story. What would your Star Wars story look like? Would you be able to tell it in 15 minutes? I know I couldn't. I would probably end up in a Star Wars K-hole, just off somewhere plotting what my Rogue One would be. And like, just ridiculous. And I think when I think about just I would lose my mind. I would lose my mind, like trying to just find this level of perfection that would just be seemingly unattainable. Before I did this video, I watched a couple reviews that other people had done on YouTube. I could tell some of them were definitely rushed, where, you know, it had just released. I mean, for me, you know, like I just totally missed the release. These people who are already embedded in the community, obviously, you know, they didn't have the amount of time that I've had to reflect. So, you know, as soon as the episode came out, they just literally set their shit up and made the quick fire off video, like what's my like their reaction. And it's just like, I just found a lot of the reactions to be lackluster. And then I saw videos later where they would update them and be like, all right, I watched them like 7 times and now I kind of, you know, I'm redacting my statement. Like, you know, like it's like I actually, that's really fucking cool that they did that. Because these shorts are so short, there's a lot to take in, and there's a lot that you need to conceptualize. Being a Star Wars fan definitely would help you connect some of those dots that are just a little bit of the storytelling that isn't right in your face. Small nuances and little things, little nods to the original, small Easter eggs, things like that were just very thoughtful in the way that they were placed. As a, I would say, tenured Star Wars fan, a tenured anime fan of somewhat right mind, Star Wars Visions hit all the right spots for me. I literally can't wait for more. Episode 1, The Duel. So The Duel, I thought, started off fantastically. The studio that produced The Duel was Kamikaze Doga. Studio Kamikaze Doga is known primarily for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which, without needing to say, is a very strange show, but I love it so much. So the story kicks off, and you see it's black and white. It's like film grain. The only thing that's colored in any way is just the lights. You'll see just like the red, green, blue lights that are just around. The studio also decided the direction they were going to go in is they made this look as if it was a black and white samurai film, reminiscent of something that Akira Kurosawa could have made. This was a strong choice to helm this 9-episode anthology, starting off where the Japanese culture Star Wars connection first met. Just for a second there, I started having this traumatic like flashback of when Netflix tried to release Berserk, and it was needless to say uncomfortable. But right when we meet the main character of this story, immediately I'm drawn to what is this dude about. First off, he looks like he's a wandering samurai. That's the vibe. He's a wandering samurai. He's going village to village, and he's got his droid with him, who's got the bamboo hat on, so he looks authentic. But then you see all of the people, and you see stormtrooper armor and first order armor of these people all over the place. So it's kind of like you're in Star Wars, and it feels familiar, but it's also not, because you're in this feudal Japan type scenery. It's definitely strange, but good strange. So you have all these different things that are going on. You're in feudal Japan. You've got these soldiers going around. There looks like there's some public unrest. It looks like there's a fight's about to break out. It looks like an old Western movie, like there's about to be a shootout or something. And that's exactly what happens. There's this giant shootout. Shit is going down. And then all of a sudden, this Sith acolyte shows up and has this ridiculous lightsaber Mary Poppins umbrella thing and just comes flying down. And at first, like, I hated it. I absolutely hated the umbrella thing. I've seen that a couple people posted videos about that, and they were talking about how it was reminiscent of I think like Clone Wars or Rebels, when the acolytes had the double lightsabers, and it had the handle, and they would just it would spin around and they'd go flying. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that either. I wasn't a fan of Kylo Ren's lightsaber. I just think that a sword should be a sword. And if it's a laser sword, it should just be a laser sword. Like, it doesn't need to do anything else. But then I changed my mind immediately because she takes the umbrella off and just starts doing work. Just wrecks that guy, wrecks that dude. And I'm like, all right. Mary Poppins can stay. So while Mary Poppins is putting the work into this group of bandits or whatever, our boy, the samurai, the Ronin, is not pleased. He steps up and he's gonna fight Mary Poppins, and she sees him coming up, and this is my favorite moment, because she sees him grabbing for his sword, and she's like, "What are you, like a Jedi?" And then he's just like, Jedi, and just and it's just like, man, like the lightsaber sounds. There's lots of lightsabers in Star Wars Visions, tons of them. I listened to one podcast who said that they shouldn't have called it Star Wars Visions. They should have called it Star Wars Kyber Crystals or Star Wars Kyber. She's, oh yeah, there's a lot of lightsabers in it. Yeah, it's Star Wars, you moron. But every time a lightsaber would ignite, doesn't matter what episode it's in, or whose lightsaber it is, or whether they're Jedi or they're Sith, or what color the lightsaber it is, but every single one of those sounds was unique. If you listen closely to the lightsaber sounds or any of the sound effects specifically, stick to lightsabers. If you really listen closely to any one of those lightsabers, like really closely, and the only way you can hear it is if you're like a real Star Wars fan, not a bullshit one, like a real one. If you really, really listen in, you can feel love for Star Wars. During the fight scene, the scenery is amazing. Like the different places that this fight ends up, and also, like, keep in mind, like, this whole thing is 15 minutes. In 15 minutes, they were able to create this whole environment and world that I've never seen before, and fully immerse you in the story. One last thing about the Duel. Right now, it's the only episode of Visions where there is additional context to the subject matter. A writer named Emma Candon wrote a book called The Ronin. I watched a spoiler-free video on it before I did this, and it does sound super cool. I think I'm going to order it. I'll put a link in the description. Disney's doing like the MCU thing to Star Wars, so they're going to have like different timelines or different like universes. So like the Ronin isn't even in Star Wars as we know it. It's its own universe of Star Wars where there's Jedi and this and stuff, and the Ronin has a very, very significant place in the Star Wars universe. Not the one that we know from the movies, but this new one where this character lives. Episode 2, Tatooine Rhapsody. It was originally pitched as a space rock opera, but I think it would be more fitting to call it a space pop punk rock opera. This one was made by Studio Colorido. The Colorido in the studio's name is rich in color, or colorful in Spanish or Portuguese. Notable works, A Whisker Away, which I have not seen, but I'm pretty sure is cat related. Pokemon Twilight Wings. It did look super cool to me. My only experience with the Pokemon anime is just the stuff that I saw, like when the original stuff with Ash. So this was kind of crazy, totally different. I thought in particular, the one thing that I noticed the most where it was like, so the Pokemon battles were done in a big stadium, and Tatooine Rhapsody is also stadium type thing. But my personal favorite from the studio, Burn the Witch, which is Bleach, the Bleach anime. It's a Bleach spinoff. Back to the episode, Tatooine Rhapsody. It was the perfect episode to complement the first episode that was the Duel. So where the Duel was black and white, film grainy, definitely trying to be very, cinematic, Tatooine Rhapsody then flipped the script and gave you like beautiful colors, even though it was on a very familiar desert planet, Tatooine. So another thing with the chibi characters, I thought they were very well done. I thought Jabba was cool. Boba Fett, super well done. Of all the chibi characters, definitely Bib Fortuna, who is definitely by far the grossest fictional character to ever be on a screen. Like, to this day, when I'm rewatching Star Wars and this guy comes on the screen, I look in the other direction. Like, I have to look away. It's paralyzing how ugly this guy is. But Studio Colorido took this horrible, disgusting character and made him a little bit more palatable. I did not have to look away. I was like, all right, he's still ugly though. When I was checking out kind of just how YouTube felt about this episode specifically, there wasn't too many people talking about it. The main thing that I didn't agree with is that some people said that it was like, the worst episode, or that it didn't have any substance. I see a ton of substance. This episode starts off with a young Jedi Padawan learner named Jay, who narrowly escapes with his life from Order 66, which was the purge of the Jedi at the end of the Clone War. In escaping the genocide of his people, his faith, and everything he's ever known, he falls into this guy's tour ship. This guy's name is Gi, and he's a Hutt like Jabba, and is on the run from Jabba. Gi doesn't want to join the family crime syndicate. He wants to rock and roll. And Gi gives Jay, who is our Padawan, a home after losing everything that he's ever known and cared about in a terrible genocide event. I also saw one YouTuber say that Gi was modeled after the bassist in Black Sabbath. I don't know, maybe you see the resemblance. I kind of do. But after Jay, the Padawan learner who escaped with his life from Order 66, falls into Gi's tour ship, Gi offers him a place to stay and a home as the lead singer of his band. So he's running away from Jabba. Jabba's got Boba Fett after him. One of the really cool things that I took away from this episode was this lingering Jedi mindset that is kind of over the main character. At least it's inherently there for me. Not going to get crazy into the Jedi code or anything right now, but being expressive in any way is not very typical of a Jedi. You have this young boy who, after a genocide, loses his way of life and joins a rock band. Okay, like that does sound, like it sounds catchy or whatever, but what's the takeaway from that? You see a lot of different reactions from in the Star Wars universe from people who survived Order 66, and there's a variety of different ways that the people reacted to it. Some people just kind of fucked off and went away forever. Obi-Wan went to Tatooine to watch over Luke and Leia. Yoda went to Dagobah to go be a swamp rat. Mace Windu has been chilling somewhere. I heard recently that he's coming back. I think this time for real. I don't think I'm being trolled this time. Mace is back, everyone. But either way, after that day when the Jedi were wiped out, something was unequivocally true amongst every single person and all of the people who embodied that mindset at that time. They were eternally changed. The consistency there then stopped. Some of them may have maintained some semblance of their Jedi mindset, but others, and I think the best example of that is someone who is a Padawan, who's a kid who hasn't fully matured as a Jedi, so he doesn't have like this strong bearing on his emotions. Like he doesn't have this handle on things that Jedis get after having gone through Padawan training and passing their Jedi trials and then ascending to the rank of knight. Jedi are really just they're like mindfulness samurai, man. Like it's like that's what they do. It's just like they don't. It's not about self. It's like, you don't think about yourself. You're part of the Force. When people say that make this kid joining a band, like a rock band, is like corny or lacks substance, like I say that to the contrary. Like I say that this is amazing. Like this is because like I know people in rock bands, and they put a lot of emotion into what it is that they do. I listen to rock music. I listen to it. Like I feel it. So like to me, the episode had so much more impact because this is where this young kid is channeling all of this trauma and these emotions of having gone through a traumatic event, but to then channel it into something positive that's not aggressive, at least outwardly so. While Jay has found a healthy outlet for these emotions, doesn't mean that it's perfect. So when Boba Fett shows up and tries to take his boy, the band gets a little scrappy. Like they're not gonna let Boba Fett and Jabba take their boy because they're talking about executing him, and that's wild. So they try and they fight back. Jay has his lightsaber in his hand and he tries to ignite it, and it doesn't work. Fight's over. They're just left there by themselves now without Guy, who is their bassist. Their band is now not together, and they just think it's over. They're gonna never see their friend again. Their friend's about to be executed. Guy is taken away, and obviously everyone's fucked up about it. They just lost their friend, their bass player, and they tried really hard to fight him back, and then they just have this realization that like what are we doing? Like we're just a band. And it's just this, it starts off being kind of morbid, and it's kind of not, and kind of sad, and kind of for a second I didn't know what they were doing, and it kind of threw me off. They're like, yeah, we're just a band. Yeah, we are just a band, but like as a band, what can we do? So they go to Jabba's palace and they ask the Hutts if they can play one more show together as a band. Jabba agrees, and the song is an absolute banger. Total absolute banger. Way better in Japanese. I will say that. The dub, which in this episode, it was the only one that I watched because when I was watching it in Japanese, the original time when the song came on, and I was like, oh my God, this is so good. Because I was like, immediately my first thought was like, oh my God, the dub is going to be terrible. So I flipped over to the dub, and the song, I don't think that they nailed it. I think it's okay. But then I watched the whole episode in dub, and the dub is actually decent with the exception of the song. I wasn't the only one who thought the song was a complete vibe. Everyone thought it was a vibe. Everyone. So they show people from all over the galaxy listening in. There's a cool little Easter egg at a certain point where you can see Obi-Wan's hut. Studio Colorido did a fantastic job in everything that had to do with the song scene. Besides the song being a banger, I thought the guy who sang it absolutely nailed it. I don't know if it was the voice actor or if they subbed him out for someone else. The song is like super Star Warsy, and it's like very positive and kind of like bright. It's just like, it gets you hyped. I've been listening to a lot of J-rock and J-pop punk in my car recently, and this is just like, it's just a vibe. Like it's like something that I would listen to on my way to work. Like the hard notes to hit are just done way better in Japanese. Like the guy who sang the Japanese one, he's a singer. Even Jabba's little tail is going. In the singing, you can, and the expressions that are drawn, it's just, I don't know, it's just like it's a lot of emotion. Like you can hear it, like if you think about the lyrics and what he's singing, and then you think about, you know, what he's been through and where he's at, and it's also just beautifully connected. I felt like, I don't know, I felt something. They just play their hearts out, and everyone, like I said, everyone loves it. At the end, you know, you see one last demonstration of just like Jedi prowess. So that realization of we're just a band, that was more of a realization of, you know, we're nothing and we don't matter. Our band together doesn't matter. Like, or we can't, like, we're nothing. What it led to was, like I said, like, we're a band. What can we do? We can play music. So they play an amazing show. How can we save our friend? Let's make a deal that Jabba can't refuse. They can't kill Gi if everyone wants the band to keep playing music. Let's play the greatest show Tatooine has ever seen, blow everyone away, and become the most famous music act on Tatooine. Can't kill Gi because there's money to be made. So he asks Jabba at the end of the song, when everyone's asking for encores, encore, he asks Jabba, he's like, we're hot shit. He's like, do you want to be our first sponsor? And he's just like, all right, fuck it. And then that's the end. It just told a Star Wars story in such a beautiful, like not direct way that just resounded to me. I loved everything about it. Most of the episodes of Star Wars Visions, I feel the same way. And I wouldn't say that necessarily that it is my favorite. I think that might be, the next one. Or maybe not. But it might be the next one. But these two episodes were bangers. I enjoyed the entire series so much. I feel very connected to each one of these stories in a different way. I hope that you watch the next video and come back and hear me talk about the twins. The twins was fucking wild. Watch it first, and then, you know, when you watch my take, you know, we could have some conversation here. You know, let's talk. Throw a comment in down below. What's your favorite Visions episode? Put it in the comments. I'd love to know. Anyway, like, share, subscribe. See you next time.